Welcome back to Strange Normal. My name is Brad Burnham, always going live when you least expect it. We are back tonight, a little bit later than normal, but we are back to talk about the stranger things that happen in your normal life to give you a biblical understanding of what's going on. And tonight, we're going to introduce a third person into the crew who's been a part of this thing for quite a while now. His name is Aaron. And of course, we're going to have Mikey back, and we're going to talk about this thing. Lots of stuff that's happened tonight. Mikey, Aaron, welcome to the program.
What's up, guys?
So Aaron is a part of, he's been a part of this. He's been finding all the stuff to talk about in our Discord. And we talk about a fraction of the stuff that's happening right now. And Aaron has been a pinnacle point in finding some of the neatest things on the web about this stuff. And so we can't
keep up with Aaron, man.
No, we can't.
Happy to help.
Aaron goes by Parallax on Twitter, and he's got quite a Twitter following already, talking about this stuff for quite a while. So we're happy to have Aaron on board. But tonight,
thanks for having me.
Yeah. So tonight we got a lot going on. I got a short video. We're going to talk about Hollywood's Nope. I'm not even in the center here, am I? Hollywood's Nope. Nope's coming out this weekend, and we there's some very interesting stuff in that. We got Bob Lazar that's we're going to be talking about, and some surprises at the end. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
Consider this a horror film? I do consider it a horror film in that horror it's my favorite genre, and I hope it honors horror. Without giving away too much, and I know you won't, what is Nope about? It's about a lot of things. The first notion that I latched onto when I was writing this movie was this idea of making a spectacle. I wanted to make a flying saucer movie because I just felt like if we can feel like we are in the presence of something other, if we feel like that's real, then that's just an immersive experience worthy of going to the movies.
So before we get into the actual trailer, guys, I think this is really interesting because why now? I mean, 5 years ago, I think he even talks about this. Mikey, I know you being at Little Light for so long, we've talked about Hollywood quite a while, and I think it's interesting that we're doing a horror film on UFOs right now. Is this something that's new? Probably not, but it's kind of interesting the way he's taking it. Why do you think we're going this way? Both of you.
Well, I think it's just that whole thing, like life imitates art, art imitates life, whichever way it is, it seems to happen. And so when the news and the military is out there saying, hey, UFOs are real, and we just keep seeing, we're submerged with it, man. Like everywhere you go, you're seeing it. I was at Walmart and I saw a coloring book, and it shows like a panda on the front and there's a UFO behind it. It's like, what does that UFO have to do? Like, it's just always there. How come every time you see a picture of outer space or Earth or the moon or whatever, you always see a UFO there? Like, they just always got to throw it in there. I think it's interesting that he said it was a horror movie, because I thought it was going to be a comedy, especially considering he's a comedian.
You guys know the last film that he did, Get Out, right?
Mm-mm.
I heard of it. I don't know much about it.
So, yeah, I think you asked, like, why now? There's a lot of conversation and dialogue going on with identity, and what's interesting just about the alien narrative, the question of alien life is what you hear a lot is in the UFO community, as an example, you hear a lot of we need to welcome these aliens, we need to invite them in, we need to be loving and accepting, and actually that's almost parallel with Black Lives Matter. And I know Key and Peele, with the content that they've produced, is pretty heavy with the dialogue, the social justice, the Black Lives Matter dialogue. So I think it's perfect timing as far as they're concerned.
I think that's really interesting. You should bring that up. That's fascinating to me. And
I think the same thing.
What I think is very interesting about it is that being horror, we have the majority of new alien stuff, and people don't even consider aliens some of the stuff they watch, like Transformers. That's an alien movie.
Right.
Right.
Superman. That's an alien movie. Star Wars, an alien
Yeah.
movie. And so,
Yoda.
yeah, I mean, you got all this stuff, and they're all benevolent. They're all nice aliens that we want to contact. What's interesting to me, this is not doesn't appear to be, being a horror film, doesn't appear to be a nice film. And so, what I wonder, this is my surmising in the back of my head, I wonder if taking it from a strictly last day events eschatology standpoint, if this is kind of setting the mind for, hey, there's going to be the good and the bad aliens, and we gotta know that there's good and bad out there, and that's how they're going to explain these terrible things that happen to people, or that have happened to people on Earth, and cows and all this other stuff that has happened.
Yeah.
Right. Aaron, that was a good point you brought up about the Black Lives Matter and all that stuff, because I wasn't sure other people were putting that together, and we haven't discussed that. But I think that there's a huge connection with the whole trans and all that stuff, because it's all about, we have to accept you no matter what you are, if you, whatever you identify as. Like, some people are identifying as, I'm not even binary. What does that mean? I don't binary. I am not binary. I'm alien, and I have to address it as such. I have to call that pronoun, or else I could be possibly arrested, depending on what the laws are saying. So it's going to get to the point where, when first contact comes and these beings are saying, hey, we come in peace, we're trying to help you guys because your world is in trouble. Imagine when the Christians are saying, these are demons.
Wow.
Dude, you're public enemy number one. You're a hater. You're a bigot. You can't accept. These beings came all the way from light years away to help us, and you're calling them, that's like racist.
Yeah, racist. Yeah. That's what I was going to say.
I think you're spot on. Bradley, I do want to, so you mentioned a few times, you highlight that it's a horror film. Key and Peele, they normally do comedy. So what you hear a lot about comedians is that in the medium of comedy, you can say whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with horror films. In a horror film, in a horror genre, you can say whatever you want and get away with it, because it's such an intense form of that artistic expression. You can get away with saying a lot. So obviously, I haven't seen the film. It's going to be released tomorrow, but I'd be curious to see exactly how they're going to tie in the identity, the Black identity, the social justice aspect into it. Because, I mean, without a shadow of a doubt, and the main character, which we'll see from the trailer, is also, I believe she's lesbian inside the trailer. So you have both worlds, or I would say all three worlds of, of the other kind of coming into the same film. So I find that really interesting.
Very interesting. Well, let's watch the trailer real quick, just so we get a synopsis of what's going on. I'll definitely won't be seeing the movie. Horror is not my thing, and movies in general aren't my thing, but it's very interesting. Let's check this thing out real quick.
Did you know that the very first assembly of photographs to create a motion picture was a 2-second clip of a black man on a horse? And that man is my great-great-grandfather.
Great.
There's another great-grandfather. But that's why back at the Haywood Ranch, as the only black-owned horse trainers in Hollywood, we like to say, since the moment pictures could move, we had skin in the game.
Did you see the owl?
I saw that. Yeah, good eye.
What's a bad miracle? They got word for that.
Yeah, nah. Run!
Yeah, nope.
Wow, yeah, right. Definitely a new version of the trailer than I've seen before.
Yeah, I was gonna say the trailer that I saw actually opened up where the Kiki Palmer, I don't know what her name is in the film, but she kind of has this this moment. She's walking in a downtown area, and she has this kind of flirtatious moment with a few other women. And then I think also in the trailer, she's wearing the band. I don't know if you know the band Jesus Lizard, the Jesus Lizard. She has that T-shirt on, which I found really interesting. So yeah, there's a couple of different trailers floating around. This one was that I hadn't seen that one.
Yeah, no, there was a few of them I saw, but this one I chose because it had the most. It wasn't gruesome. There were some really odd ones out there, but
For sure.
It kind of gives you a synopsis of what's going on. And what I think is most interesting is that if this is kind of, I wouldn't say predicting, but this is kind of saying, hey, you know what, this is the stuff we're gonna deal with in the last days. Nah, nope. I don't want to have anything to do with it.
Nope. So there's speculation or rumors, I should say, that NOPE is an acronym for Not of Planet Earth, NOPE. Which, I mean, immediately when I saw that, I was thinking like, oh, what's the, Christians, we have our own
Not of this world.
Not of this world. What's that all about? So, yeah, I found that interesting. But yeah, NOPE is could very well be an acronym. That's what a lot of the fans are saying, because it's already got kind of a small cult following.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see if where it's going to go. Is it going to be at the end like, oh, they were just misunderstood, or what you're talking about, Brad, is you said it's not really predicting, but it is preparing. This entertainment that we call it, quote, entertainment, it's not just mindless entertainment like people think. Art is meant to change the viewer's mind about something. It's supposed to say something. This will tell you that they want to move you in some kind of way. They want to put their ideas into that movie in hopes to change society. James Cameron was very vocal about his movie Avatar. He said, it is a movie about climate change. It's about the environment. He said, I made that. Yeah, he said, I didn't even have to make another movie. I have all the money I need. I'd made Titanic and Terminators and all that. And he said, but I felt like I had to play a part in trying to wake people up, shake them and wake them that this climate change thing is real and we need to do something about it. And he said, what better way than to use, the media that moves people and causes emotion? Because he said it's going to take fear to make people wake up. And he said, and people aren't paying attention to like politics and, like the documentary Inconvenient Truth or whatever. So he's saying we have to get people's attention through entertainment, through art.
Wow. And you wonder what the directors of this movie or any other movie that comes out is actually trying to prepare the minds for or help out. I reached out to a public forum on Facebook, a group, I guess they call them, and someone was posting, we should reach out for these things. We should talk to them. And, that's what I'm thoroughly against. And, one of the things I want to.
Don't we have a homeless problem still in America? Yeah. And really interesting that.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know. I feel like we have our priorities a little crooked. We're trying to welcome and house all these intergalactic beings, but we walk right over the homeless guy on the street. What's up with it?
Let's go beyond our solar system this time, which anyway, that's a whole nother topic. But what I thought was there's about 3 or 4 different ideas that came back here. I want to kind of go over those real quick because I think it's a really interesting thing. Let me bring that up here. So one of the things I said on here, and forgive me, this thing is really tiny, but is why does anyone think that contacting these things is a good idea? Why do you think? I mean, why do they think they're benevolent? No evolutionary or religious belief system shows that this will end well. None. Evolution says that they will likely be superior, and survival of the fittest will destroy us, just like what happened to the Native Americans when the Americans came over. Terrible, terrible thing. And religion says that they are deceptive and dangerous, and evidence concludes that they have mutilated cattle, damaged crops, abducted people beyond their will, at least in the mind, maybe. And messed with our highest security protocols, disabled the most dangerous warheads, forced pregnancies, forced surgeries, burned victims, killed pilots, and lied to people. We can't assume just because they are smarter and stronger that they're going to have better morality. So what I've said that before on this program, but I think it's worth reiterating because I had a number of people who said, you know what, this is true. And they liked my comment, but a number of them didn't. And so I kind of want to go over what's the general conception of these things among the populace right now.
I'm not running into people who are concerned. Most people are excited. Dude, okay, so the majority of people that I asked, do you believe in aliens? They're just like, yeah, like they're finally telling us what we already knew anyway, that aliens are real. But nobody is concerned. Like, are you kidding me? Like, there's beings that are coming to our Earth that could possibly take over or kill us or whatever. No, that thought isn't entering people's minds at all, which is very alarming to me.
Yeah, and so John Spruce, this guy says, perhaps it's not, perhaps it's not the aliens. We know these things are demonic, but they still call them. Perhaps it's not these extraterrestrials. Perhaps it's just our government. And so one of the theories that's floating around out there is that the government is putting up false flags and they've been pushing this idea. I think Stephen Greer is the one that's actually pushing this agenda.
Yeah, if you saw, it's in CE5, the Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind documentary. So his narrative is that the government is only pushing the national security threat narrative, while the grassroots organization people are pushing you're trying to connect with these beings, because remember, it's the grassroots organizations that you find a lot of the meditation, the spiritualism, a lot of that's going on. So those people actually want to contact these beings,
right?
And so they've already who's the gentleman who I can't think of his name right now. He raised an alarm and said, we need to shut this study down because we already know what they are. They're demonic entities. I can't think of his name, but I think what's happening is that I think the pieces are being put in place. People are kind of people are getting set up in their bases, because if the government has the side that says, the conservative Christians that says these things are demonic or they're a national security threat, which I do believe that ET disclosure is a national security threat because people are going to lose their minds. So, I mean, to that extent, it is a national security threat, and it's going to be absolutely chaotic. But then you have the other aspect, and what I have found in my own sleuthing around the internet and doing my research is that as much as I don't, like to bring politics into it, it does seem like people are putting their cards on the table and saying, here's where I'm going to be in the narrative. Here's where I'll be in the narrative. And people are digging their heels in, because the conversation that you have here, Brad, I've had similar conversations where I have just posed questions and people become hostile when I begin to question the narrative of they're going to be absolutely good. And I've had people tell me that, like, I don't care if they're bad as long as it's not the government we had a couple of years ago, right?
Mhm.
And so, I mean, I've heard everything from that to, you know, as long as the aliens are here to liberate us from white supremacy, right?
Wow.
Or the conservative Christians. And so, but I've gone with that. I've actually asked people, like, what makes you think, you know, it's not going to be an alien inquisition?
Right.
You know, like, I mean, how do you know you're not going to be put under alien supremacy? And I've actually had people say, I don't care. I would prefer
Wow.
an alien supremacy and be subject to a tyrannical alien government as opposed to the one that we have now. And yeah, and that's
ludicrous.
been the sentiment that I have found in general. People are willing to be blinded. But
they'd
Bible
rather have
verses coming to mind.
aliens like chained us with collars and tasing us if we don't worship at their feet compared to what we have now. I mean, that's
well, look
ridiculous.
at the culture. I mean, we pay money to see horror films about aliens. I mean, it's very.
I think they're in for a rude awakening, though, if that were to become a reality.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll
So
see.
this next person, this is interesting to me too, because they've taken it to the furthest extent and says they're not evil. They're coming in now as these, and are the ones going to help us build a new America, better one back. And they go on to these draconian, and they get kind of weird here. But it blows my mind that I said build a new America. Where do you hear this? Can you provide more information about this? Because I'm sure this is the narrative going to be pushed. Hey, we're here to help you. And this sounds like something that's, I mean, is this person really? Do they have an in on what's going on, or do they have information that I want to know why they think that this is actually going to happen?
Right. I was just sitting there thinking the same thing. Like, where'd she hear this from? She's saying it as if it's fact, but that seems to be the mindset of everybody.
But you know where they're hearing it from, because this goes back to all of the CE5 contact experiences.
They're hearing it from their channelings and all that.
And, well, yeah, sure. And not everybody's going to say, hey, I had an encounter, because more and more people are coming out of the closet about their experiences and contacting these entities. But so where are they getting it from? Well, they're getting it from the entities.
So I wonder why people don't think that anything is deceptive at all. Like, well, I heard from another person, or in my own being, I channeled, it spoke through me. It said, we come in peace. We're going to help you. Why do you not question, dude, when a grown man goes up to a little girl and says, hey, I have some candy for you. I'm sure that kid is thinking, hey, I can trust him. He's got candy. But anybody else looking says, don't do that. That man has bad intentions. I don't care how nice he seems. And that kid's going to look at you like, what are you talking about? Like, he just wants to give me some candy. He wants to play with me across the street or whatever. Like, why are people not thinking, dude? Their brains are just shut off.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've got I got some responses that were positive, like, hey, you know, we're so happy you actually are executing this response correctly. And a lot of people like that. But I mean, I've had people that have said, you know, to get to the truth, you have to know which alien is doing what. And this is the idea. I think this is the majority of the concept of people that are really looking into this. They believe that there are good and there are bad aliens.
They believe that they're aliens. that's really what it all comes down to.
Is this alien racism? Like, which kind of aliens are bad? Don't trust those reptilians. The insectoids, they're good guys, but
see, and this is the problem. This is you can't tell who's good or who's bad just by looking at their skin or their scales or how many eyes they have, or if they can turn their head around and like an owl. It's all.
We're supposed to trust monsters now, right? So what movie? Well, you know where I'm going with this. You know where I'm going with this. So Nickelodeon's Monster High that they just came out with, where all of these monsters, the whole, like, by the looks of the trailer and the plot, it seems like the whole thing is about love and acceptance, but in the context of these monsters who live in this monster universe. But the monster to the monsters are the humans, and I think it's I could be wrong about the plot, but I think the plot is that the monsters are trying to accept the human. It's kind of a little twisted. But that's what's being pushed right now. We're supposed to love and befriend and trust monsters. I mean, that's what I see anyway when when these things are put out.
This is the thing that's being pushed by media, is that we have to trust everything regardless of their look, their height, their skin.
Well, that's been going on for a while. Not that's exactly right. Like, dude, the media in general, like television or whatever, is relatively kind of new technology when you think of the thousands of years we've been here. And then 200 years ago we started having like theater or whatever. So within that time, this is like Satan's new device, like how he can really essentially brainwash humanity. But in the 80s, there was like My Pet Monster. Remember that blue monster that had the chains on his arms and the horns and teeth and everything? Yeah, Alf. Monster in My Pocket, Sesame Street. All those characters are monsters. Cookie Monster, Dracula. Elmo is a monster. Like, I'm not just saying that; they're really saying that. One of the commercials.
We've been inundated by friendly monsters for a very long time, at least as long as, I mean, even Beetlejuice. At least as long as the 80s, we've been inundated by this. Monsters are beings, are entities to be accepted.
Yeah.
Remember that? What was it called? It was Howie Mandel and the kid Ben Savage or whatever. It was the monster under his bed, and it was his friend. Do you remember that?
Wait,
I remember Alf. Alf was
I know.
the monster.
Well, see, the thing is, Mikey, is like these narratives have been regurgitated in so many different ways. I can think of a handful of movies where this was the case. I mean, not just alien contact. I mean, you hear a lot of the in the UFO community, you hear a lot of people drawing parallels from the old fairies. I don't know if you've ever looked into like Nordic folklore, fairy tales, but a lot of it's very dark. I mean, you have all sorts of stuff where those were the demons of their day, And a lot of the fairy tales that we have that I grew up with from Disney were watered down versions of very dark stories from Norwegian and European folklore. And so as an adult, I go back and I I wonder what's the story behind Peter Pan. And, all of a sudden I find a demon. Oh, I wonder what's the story behind Ariel. And you dig far enough, you're like, oh, there's a demon there too. I mean, there's like a demonic spirit entity or deity behind almost every character that we have in television. So quite literally, we're being inundated by this monster positivity.
Well, you got to wonder, how are these entities that we know are absolutely demonic, that have been strapped to Earth as we are quarantined here, how are they going to gain our trust? And the way I think is the most interesting is I believe there's a guy named Roger Murnau, we're going to look into him in just a second, that says that these things are going to gain our trust through some disasters that are going to come upon Earth. And that is interesting because just recently, we have this.
So there's been a nuclear attack. Don't ask me how or why, just know that the big one has hit, okay? So what do? There are 3 important steps that I want you to remember. Step 1, get inside fast. You, your friends, your family, get inside. And no, staying in the car is not an option. You need to get into a building and move away from the windows. Step 2, stay inside. Shut all doors and windows. Have a basement? Head there. If you don't have one, get as far into the middle of the building as possible. If you were outside after the blast, get clean immediately. Remove and bag all outer clothing to keep radioactive dust or ash away from your body. Step 3, stay tuned. Follow media for more information. Don't forget to sign up for Notify NYC for official alerts and updates. And don't go outside until officials say it's safe. All right, you've got this.
All right. Got it. Know what to do now. I got a question. Why was she inside the metaverse?
Dude, I believe
Is
that.
that like something there to like detach you from reality almost? Like, why couldn't you just she could have filmed that the way that we're filming each other here now,
Right.
right in her living room or in a studio or something. But like they went through the hassle of setting up a green screen, editing, generating these sets. Like, why was she in the metaverse though? That's kind of weird to me.
But before we get off on that,
Sure.
before we get off too far on that, I want to introduce what this actually was. This was a commercial, a legitimate commercial put out by New York City, saying, "Hey, look, we've had some. This is what they're saying behind what they're saying. Hey, look, we're having some trouble with Russia. Russia's a nuclear country, and by the way, we could get nuked. So this is what you do. If anybody ever nuked New York, you can go inside. That's not going to really help. You're dead." I mean, there's going to be a lot not surviving there.
Yeah.
And so this commercial speaks volumes to me, saying, this is where we're at right now. And what I think is the most interesting, though, is that there's a lot of beliefs within the UFO community that say something very similar to what I think Morneau is saying, and I think we should check out real quick. This is a TikToker. Listen to this.
So we got a huge potential for World War III. A lot of people are
barely
saying
hear 'em.
alien intervention is going to happen. I'm one of them. I truly believe that they have been watching us this whole time, and if things get bad enough, they will intervene, because nukes cannot happen, there cannot be a significant loss of life, and they will intervene to prevent that. But the most important thing to do in this time of crisis is to go within, to know yourself, to live through the heart, because only through living through the heart will we be in alignment with our soul's purpose.
Okay. Wait. There's a lot to say about that. Well, number one, why is he holding a crystal in the middle of his lap? New Age movement. That's why.
Yeah.
But he's basically saying, hey, look, these things are going to come save us. They're going to prevent this from happening. And I wonder where he's getting that from.
I feel like there's
Strange New Worlds, Star Trek, first episode, Strange New Worlds. That narrative, you covered that, Bradley, in one of your recent videos. But that's dead on, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a situation where it was just like, maybe it's nuclear threat. All the major nations get a hold of nukes, and maybe some of the not so major nations are starting to get a hold of nukes. Maybe it's even something different, like some alien tech nuke. I don't know. Maybe it's like the aliens gave us some technology that we can all blow ourselves up with, right? And then the aliens swoop in. But we might very well see some tension as far as, because Bible says that there will be wars and rumors of wars too. And I've always heard that. I've always read that as like there's going to be wars and rumors of wars. Yes, but that in and of itself, kind of speaks to, maybe just looming tension and conflict just on the brink of total fallout. And like you saw in that movie, was it Strange or Brave New Worlds? Strange New Worlds or something like that, the Star Trek one. Well, that's what happened. Yeah, where the human were the aliens, and they go in and they have this heartfelt message of like climate change and like, guys, come on, it doesn't have to be like that. Just hold hands and let us lead you. Like, come and we're gonna re-educate your children, and we're gonna like make you guys one of us, basically. I could see that panning out pretty easily.
Absolutely.
I feel like there's a lot of fear being pushed in one way or the other. There's aliens, there's nuclear war, there's climate change. I mean, they're just hitting you from every angle to where you're going to submit. I mean, this is exactly what Ronald Reagan was saying. How can we unite the world? What if there was an alien threat? That would make us unite together. Point. And I feel like there's some kind of agenda to keep us in our own prison that we are willfully putting ourselves in. Like when she said, okay, so the COVID thing happened, everybody stay inside, lockdown, stay in your, I know it's healthy to go outside, but no, stay inside. And then she's like, nuclear war, go inside, lock yourself in. She's literally saying like, lock yourself in this cage We want to make it, because there's no way that the powers that be can, control everybody,
Right.
So what's the
believe-
best way to control people is to make them lock themselves up. And that's
And
what the whole
whatever you
metaverse is
do,
about
do
too.
not unplug from media. Just
That's
don't
what she said.
unplug
Yeah.
from media.
Tune in, stay tuned, put on your meta goggles, and that's where it's going to be. It's going to be where the world is so scary that all I want to do is live in here forever. And it's so much safer and fun in here, and I have a job here. I can just say whatever I want, and it appears with AI.
Yeah, you are a god inside your AI. What I think is most interesting, we as Christians have been given, we've been given this idea from the Bible that we are not a part of this world. But not only that, we're not a part of a cityscape. When you look in the Bible, look at all the patriarchs of old. Where do they grow up? They don't grow up inside of a city. They're told to get out of the city and get into the country area where it's cleaner. You can get cleaner water. You can get cleaner food. You can do your own gardening. I mean, who was it? Lot was told to get out of Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Jesus grew up in Galilee, which was a country area, right? It was, I think Noah built his ark in the mountains. So I think it's really interesting that the majority of where God has his people is not, hey, lock yourself in the middle of the city and put on your goggles and connect to media. It's get out of here.
Yeah.
I haven't researched this fully. Fact check me or whatever, and you guys may have heard it. Have you heard that that now not the Mennonites, the Amish are being attacked in some way by the government because, oh, you guys grow your own food. That's dangerous.
Oh,
I mean, that's where it's at now. Like, you can't eat that. It's coming right out of the ground. You got to go to the store and get
You got to have it blessed by the aliens, man.
Yeah.
It's not kosher until it's blessed by the aliens.
Well, wow. I think it's interesting. Roger Murnau, let's harp on what he says real quick, because I think it's interesting that this kind of goes all in line with the same thing. Watch this.
And he said it's going to be done in a unique manner. This grand plan is going to take people are going to eat the stuff, because it says spirits, demon spirits, will declare themselves to be inhabitants of far distant planets in the galaxies that are coming to warn the inhabitants of planet Earth of the impending destruction of the planet, unless something seriously proper is done to avoid it.
Disasters, man-made and natural, will start to happen all over the world. I think he goes into a little bit further, but fascinating stuff, I think.
He also said when the New Age was on the rise. I mean, dude, we are there, man.
Well, as Christians, we've always been accused for being the doomsday preachers. Hellfire, brimstone. Not so much anymore. I think we're the ones with the message of hope. Right. We've always been the ones with the message of hope, but what we have now is this counter message, because we understand that the whole controversy in the universe, between heaven and earth and Christ and Satan is, you have the church, the gospel, and our message is that, the three angels' message essentially is to give God glory, fear him, he makes everything, and come out of Babylon and, don't take the mark of this system. Don't take on the character of this system. You also have, on the opposite side of the aisle, you have the Luciferian, the satanic gospel, which is, it's got its doomsday message. It has its redemption message, which is the aliens. And you have, don't take on the character of these Christians, right? I mean, you almost see it's the same seed of the serpent and seed of the woman as it's always been. The two narratives that have gone all the way, and even before the Garden of Eden, you have the controversy in heaven between Christ and Satan. I mean, you see that coming from heaven to earth, and from Earth through all the time of history that we've been here up until now. And I think it's coming to this pinnacle where God's going to say, now it's time to decide, choose this day who you will serve. He's going to have all evidence on the table, I believe. And people will be able to decide.
You know, one of the things I'm playing around with is, do you think all this is all going to be meta? You know, not meta as in meta, the metaverse or virtual, but are we going to actually see some nuts and bolts deceptions that are coming along? And I think the biggest deception will be when something physical happens. And I think we're going to see that. And the reason why I think we're going to see that is because we have inklings of. Have you heard of Bob Lazar? Have you heard this name before?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've talked a lot about him on this channel, but Bob Lazar is well known for putting Area 51 on the map. And
nuts and bolts.
Yeah, nuts and bolts. So he said he actually worked on reverse engineering. He was a physicist, and he worked on some of the reverse engineering of some of this stuff. And he has been in court and done some pretty crazy stuff, and where he could have renounced it all and said, no, all this was a lie. You know, I want to save my skin. And he didn't. He said, this is the truth. This is what I've been. I can prove it by my paychecks. And I think it's really interesting. I'm not sure if I believe him fully, but I think it's really interesting what he's saying. And I have a clip that kind of from one of the most popular podcasters out there.
I was hoping it was Joe Rogan.
Is Joe Rogan. And he's on Joe Rogan talking about his experience with this. And the reason I'm going to bring this up is because recently there's been some verbiage that's been placed in Congress about this deception, about maybe what he's talking about. We're going to come into that in just a second. But meanwhile, listen to, if you don't know who Bob Lazar is, I'm going to have you listen to this real quick.
Seen pretty much every interview you've ever given. I've followed the story incredibly closely. But for people who don't know the story, let's give them the bullet points. You used to work in how would you describe it?
I guess within the Area 51 compound. You can call that a subset of Area 51.
And you got that job. Before that, you were working...
Before that, I had worked at Los Alamos
right.
National Labs in New Mexico.
And you were involved in what kind of work?
Nuclear weapon development, physics. I mean, they do everything there.
So how do they approach you to say, hey, Bob, why don't you come on out to the Nevada desert?
Well, the way this went down was, at that time, it was 1982, I had put a jet engine in my Honda, and Los Alamos put it on the front page of the paper. It said, Los Alamos man, physicist at the lab, built this 200 mile an hour, Honda jet car that I drove to work every day. So I was known in Los Alamos, the guy with the weird car, and you could hear it from a mile away. Anyway, the day that came out on the front page of the paper was the day Edward Teller, the father of the hydrogen bomb, was giving a lecture down there at the lab. And we didn't have much going on that day in our group, and I asked if I could go down there. And I went down there early, and Ed Teller was outside, leaning on a brick wall there and reading the front page of the paper. Now, this is a guy out of history, so I introduced myself. Hey, I'm the guy you're reading about there. And we talked for a little while, and it was cool. Fast forward to years later, I had moved out to Las Vegas and had, left Los Alamos and, went on to other things. And I wanted to get back into the scientific community. I left to start other businesses and that sort of thing. So I sent resumes out, and one of them went out to Ed Teller and referenced our meeting, back in the day. And anyway, he remembered me and gave me a reference, somebody to contact at EG&G. And that's pretty much how it started.
So you get a phone call or a letter? Like, what do you get?
Well, I got what did I get? I got a letter initially and went down for an interview probably a couple times. And it was down at EG&G Special Projects, which was at McCarran Airport at that time out in Las Vegas.
And did they give you any sort of job description of what you were applying for?
They said it was for I can't remember exactly what they did. This was a long time ago, but I think it was advanced propulsion or something like that. Something relatively generic. And they said it's in a remote area. It's going to be some days on, some days off. And, it was kind of not exactly a full-time job, but you might have to be out there for 2 weeks at a time and take 2 weeks off. So it was kind of the work schedule would be kind of broken up.
And did this seem attractive to you, or did it seem weird?
It really wasn't weird, because people that work at the test site, anybody that's familiar with the area up there, working at the nuclear test site or at the Tonopah test range north of there, that's typically how things go.
So you had known about it from the scientific community? Because Area 51 at that time was
No, they didn't say anything about
classified.
Area 51.
Okay, so they
just said it was in a remote location, and you just know it was up at the test site.
Right.
So, but there was no mention of Area 51.
Well, I'm having connection issues here on my laptop, but what do you think? What do you guys think about that?
I believe the guy.
him.
Yeah, I've been watching him for a while,
Yeah.
and he has no reason to lie. He doesn't want notoriety. He's denied interviews. He said things like, this is my last one, but people just always come after him. Hey, we want to talk. And he's not looking for any kind of fame or anything. And
I believe him. I don't agree with his worldview.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But I believe him in that his experiences, I believe his experience is 100% real. Now, others may disagree that it's, I've heard some Christians even to say that oh no, well, that's impossible because aliens aren't real. So Bob Lazar has to be making it all up. It's no. You don't understand how deception works. You have to really,
in what sense are aliens not real? I mean,
right.
People are seeing something, they're having experiences, but it's not, the narrative is not right. It's just not to get into conspiracy theory, but to say 9/11 never happened. Yeah, it happened. Maybe it wasn't exactly the way they said, but
yeah, I believe that's how a lot of things are actually.
Right.
I mean, not it's not exactly how everyone's thinking it should be. I mean, not to get too far into that, but
yeah, I was just gonna say that I don't know if I believe that it's the craft that he saw is from outer space. I don't think I believe that.
Right.
In the studies that I've done on just the on angels and demons and the capabilities of Satan and the angels and what they can do in Scripture. I mean, they can give you wisdom to build all sorts of stuff.
That's what I think.
And I don't know. I have a pretty good feeling that machine was created. Because think about it like this. The Ouija board was created by the authors are disputed to this day, but the story goes that the author received the wisdom on how to contact ghosts and spirits through automatic writing. So they entered into meditation. They contacted these entities. The entities said, here, I'm going to make a tool that you can now use to contact us easier and better. Similar thing happened with the Enneagram. I don't know if you're familiar with the Enneagram personality tests. Has similar origins. The Enneagram was created by somebody who contacted entities through meditation, through spirit mediums, and created this thing so everybody can contact. It's a lot easier now for everybody to have this wisdom. Similar thing with CE5, the app CE5, Stephen Greer's app. He created that app, those protocols, with the help of these entities. So if these crafts are the key that we need to contact these entities to finally unlock this puzzle, this mystery of the aliens, I believe that somebody received the information on how to build those crafts through automatic writing. I mean, you just see it over and over and over and over again, and that's how I think these things come into this world. I think we would be surprised to learn how many things were actually taught to us by. I've always had the question: where did man learn how to sacrifice animals?
Well, it was in
To the
Genesis.
Lord.
Yeah, Lord.
Well,
Yeah.
right. I mean, I think that God or the angels had to have taught them. Like here's how you do this. God had to do it. God taught, man how to build the tabernacle, and that thing was intricate. And the temple was also, there was wisdom that was shown in heaven, and they received these instructions on how to build these massive, for the time, skyscrapers. That's what they were. They were huge. These temples were massive, and they were completely cladded in gold inside and out. Like, I mean, where are people getting this wisdom from? So I don't think that these crafts are from outer space per se. Like the just the math, the science doesn't add up those capabilities to travel those light years. I mean, even if they had the technology, the time it would have taken them, to go from one galaxy to another, it just doesn't make sense. But I do think that the crafts and any technology, I think that was all made here.
Well, the reason why I bring this up is because I think it's really interesting. There was a tweet recently, and this is what is most fascinating to me. It says, in this Intelligence Authorization Act today, House Intel Committee requires GAO historical study of ICUAP activity, including a clause that's seen in the Senate version. Efforts to recover or transfer related technologies to United States-based industry or national laboratories. And then it goes ahead and shows exactly where that is inside this thing. So I think it's really interesting. What I don't think we know fully what's going on here because there's something fascinating happening, and maybe that's just our government trying to cover their butts and saying, yeah, anything that we have, transfer it. Let's get this going, because we want to know everything that's going on here. And because of that, I think we're gonna find out some information pretty soon that I think is pretty remarkable, pretty deceptive, or just goes in line with exactly what we already know is going to happen. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think that there's going to be some information released at breakneck speeds over these next few years. The Bible says that God doesn't do anything unless he reveals his secrets to his servants. God is not an authoritarian regime where he just declares and does. He has counsel in heaven, and he consults his counsel in heaven. He also reveals his plans to his servants and to his people. And I believe that the reason why, various ministries are starting to look into this, because I think the Lord's saying, buckle up. It's going to get weird.
Yeah.
It's going to get really bizarre. I've got a conspiracy theory that just kind of came to me while I was working, I think yesterday or maybe earlier today. Do you remember, this was also Nickelodeon, Prometheus and Bob? Pull that up. Do you got Google over there?
I do.
Can you pull that up on a screen?
I don't think I can share it immediately because I'm not set up for that, but let me see if I can.
Okay, that's fine.
Talk about it. Maybe I can do it.
Yeah, Prometheus and Bob was this little snippet, maybe 1 minute long clips, if that, of I think the plot is 900,000 years ago or something. This alien comes from outer space. This was like in the 90s. This alien comes from outer space, maybe late 80s or something. Anyway, alien comes from outer space. His name is Prometheus. Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, Prometheus and Bob. So if you can find, because on YouTube there's a whole compilation of like all of the videos, and you could watch a couple if you're able to share.
Is that an alien and a caveman?
Yeah, it's an alien and caveman. So you know the story, the Greek myth of Prometheus. So Prometheus is a titan who steals fire from the gods and brings it to man as a part of his rebellion, right? And mind you, this is mythology, so there's tons of error and deception within it. But I find it interesting because that fire has been historically interpreted as technology. Because what is fire other than technology? You find the same thing. Peter Whalen in the movie Prometheus actually gave a speech at a mock kind of TED Talk where he explains this narrative verbatim nearly. And he explains that now here we are with this technology. We moved from the stick and stone fire that was technology that the gods gave us to now we have spaceships and warp speed that could take us to other solar systems. And he makes this connection throughout history. It's in a trailer. I'll have to share it with you later. But so what's interesting is that is the whole myth of Prometheus, that he gets in trouble with the gods. He rebels against the gods, and as his punishment, he's sent down to Earth, but he also takes a torch down with him.
That's the story of Lucifer, the light bearer.
So Lucifer, the light bearer, and that's the parallel. So Prometheus almost typifies Satan or Lucifer when he's falling from heaven. So what's interesting is that when you think of Area 51, who allegedly, according to Bob Lazar, had access to this technology from the aliens, right, who people also refer to as the gods in the UFO and alien community, especially in the, people who are into meditation and all those things. But isn't it really interesting that the caveman, the human in the little cartoon, and this thing went on for a while. I have it branded I have episodes of this branded in my head.
Is it claymation or something?
It's claymation, yeah, something like that.
Which is creepy
So,
looking.
yeah, you have Prometheus and Bob. So you have Bob Lazar quite literally with his testimony. You have, right? So you have Bob Lazar, and his testimony is quite literally the story of Prometheus. Isn't that interesting? I want to go back and watch all of the episodes of Prometheus and Bob to see if I could find anything in there, because, I mean, what are the odds, right?
Yeah.
In the opening, it's really interesting.
I like what CE4 Research is a friend of mine in here in the comments section. His name is Joe Jordan. Fantastic guy. He actually said something I quite agree with. He says angels don't need or have technology. What we call technology is their natural abilities. And I want to jump off that real quick because I think that's 100% right. When God creates something, and you can look at any of his creation, he creates everything they need with it. If we need to go somewhere, like angels, I mean, we're told that they're bright beings, that they can go and they can go where they need to in the universe if they are if they need to. And what do they need to be able to brighten up the area that's very dark? Perhaps, but that's just one example. When he put us on Earth, he gave us 2 legs. He gave us a way to move around. He didn't give us a spaceship. He doesn't say like here's you're an entity, you can't move, so I'm going to give you some technology to move around with. No, he builds everything into us.
He builds it in.
Yeah.
I agree. And which is why I don't think that these things are from outer space. Like I said, I do believe that these things are information that, humans are building and saying like, hey, I mean, because think about how cunning Satan is. Mm-hmm. Well, technically it's from heaven.
Yeah.
Technically, it's from the heavens. Now, the thing didn't come crashing through our atmosphere. I don't believe that.
Right.
But the information is from a heavenly realm, right? From these things. But I don't believe that they are nuts and bolts from another galaxy or whatever. I think it's totally, information, just like, fallen angels and demons have given information to humans, like the CE5 protocol. That's exactly what that is.
Yeah, dude, we're sitting here talking over these little plastic rectangles that we carry in our pocket, and somehow this information is beaming through the air, and I'm seeing you, and we're talking and all this stuff. I have no idea how it works. It's literally just magic. I have no idea how this thing works. If we don't know how this simple technology works that we use every day, what kind of technology does the government or the powers that we have? They have stuff 30 years advanced that we have no idea. And I do believe that they're getting it from somewhere, because the military has been known to play around with LSD. They dosed, you can look at this black and white footage of them dosing the military, and they're trying to make them walk in formation. Those guys didn't even know. They thought they were taking their daily vitamins. Next thing I know, they're on the floor laughing. They messed around with trying to figure out pyrokinesis, telekinesis, astral projection, remote viewing. Yeah. They're really doing that stuff because they're thinking, if this is real, we need to use it for our benefit.
And that's the whole idea behind Skinwalker Ranch. They're not there to try to find the demons. They're there to see, hey, how can we use this stuff to our ability to make things move around that without the extra help of mechanics and stuff. They're there for their own.
You're right.
Their own hope. So
I was you just embedded the thought into my mind of Lucifer's offer is always something great in exchange for worship.
Yeah.
And you see that temptation playing out when Christ was fasting in the wilderness. Satan goes and says, hey, look, all these kingdoms, all this stuff's mine. Like, I can build all kinds of stuff.
The
I
God
can
of this world.
inspire leaders and create dynasties and nations and build them and just, and destroy them essentially with plagues and all kinds of different things. Satan's a powerful entity is what we read in scripture. And he tempted Christ with the offer of, I'll give you all of this stuff, if you will bow down and worship me. That's how Satan operates. And, so I'm having the theological debate in my head, like, how much information or technology can spirit beings give to man in order to create, like, whether it's technology or anything like that. But what else comes to mind is like these movie universes, like entire universes with intricate species and backstories and all these different things. And like, Avatar was created by, what's his name?
James Cameron had a dream.
James Cameron, who had a dream of this being, this entity, which he painted, and then it inspired this entire movie. So I without a doubt, I think that this technology is made by man, but the information was given from a heavenly realm, and so they're able to say the skewed, slightly altered version of the lie. Now everybody's going around saying this stuff's from outer space, but really it's from heavenly realms. It's what it's it's from spirit realms, I should say.
Shameless plug here for Little Light Studios has a documentary called The Replacement Gods, and in there, man, what's his name? Grant Morrison, dude said that he had an encounter with the Gnostic Christ, and that this Gnostic Christ, like, Grant Morrison was about to die. He said, I'm dying. And he said, you don't have to. And he said, well, what do I got to do? I don't want to die. He said, I want you to, through your art of comic writing and movies and all that, I want you to share the new gospel. And so now that's his whole, Grant Morrison's like, if I don't do this, I'm going to die. So he is, for fear of his own life, pushing this Gnostic gospel through his stories. And there was a reason I was talking about that. Something you said. Oh, they were at the conference and they said he was with Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance, and he said, I know you guys aren't going to want to hear this, but we're kind of like writing the Bible, a new version of the Bible, and we're like the prophets, and he said and we're writing like it's almost like a new mythology or something.
Wow.
That's exactly what it is. Our mythology is not written on cave walls and stuff. Like, we're putting them in our DVD players and we're streaming them on our devices. They're in our pockets at all time. Like the religious people walked around with, boxes of scripture on their head, and we're sitting there streaming, and we have it in our pocket at any time. We can pull it out and stream a video of our gods, American idols, people we worship basically, and then these superheroes that are literally based off of Greek and Roman gods.
Hey, another piece of, now all technology is, what's the etymology of technology? It's just knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that what technology is? Technologia or something in the Greek? I don't know if
I never even thought about that.
Well, that's all technology is. It is knowledge. It's wisdom.
Techno-knowledge.
And it brings me back to the story. Yeah. It brings me back to the story of Thoth and Hermes and the Emerald Tablet. That was also what we today consider as great philosophy and wisdom that inspired all sorts of math, science, and music, and all that stuff. They say comes from the old, Platonic philosopher, Plato, the philosopher, and these ancient, wise, what would you call them? Teachers, these teachers who had these little cults, but they would take this knowledge. And the Emerald Tablet, from what I remember, was also something that came from the heavenly realms. It was something that was given to him. So, yeah, I guess I'm still just kind of chewing on this concept of, like, this. We watched the video of Bob Lazar, and if you hear the description of what he saw in there, it was a technology. He makes the assumption based off of his evolution worldview that it's from another planet. But I just think it's, there's
Right,
some
right. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of speculation that what Roswell actually was actually not speculation. This is one of the major descriptions that I think I've heard from some of the higher ups in the government, saying that Roswell, even though it's it's believed in conspiracy that this has been a UFO crash from another civilization, was actually another country that had the ability to produce this technology that we had never seen before, that was
Let's say
trying
it was a monkey in a spaceship, like a rocket or something.
there was something, it wasn't a rocket, but it was actually a craft that they had never seen before, and technology they had never seen
What are
before.
we doing, guys? Sending monkeys in spaceships? What are we even doing?
It's terrible. But another thing that I need to research this a little bit more, and the theory is that even the nuclear weapons have been given to us by dreams and visions.
Yeah,
From
that
probably
would not
demons.
surprise me whatsoever.
So I got to research that a little bit more, but I've been told that, and I've been given places to look for that information. But it wouldn't surprise me in a bit to have someone to have demonic entities say, here's some amazing technology, why don't you use this? And then we use it for the worst, and they say, we can come help you. Isn't that the classic? I mean, here's some terrible stuff, and let's help you with that terrible stuff that we've given you.
Well,
Anyway.
it's literally like a counterfeit of what happened when God created this perfect world, and what did we do? We messed it up, and He's going to come and save us.
Right.
Keith from Little Light Studios has a presentation called Channels, and he talks about the history of this technology, the telephone by Alexander Graham Bell, and the TV and all that. They came up with this stuff to try to communicate with spirits. Like the telephone.
That wouldn't surprise me at all. Like the knocking, I think is what they used to call it.
The rapping.
And, Morse code is very, that's what it was. The rapping. And it was essentially Morse code too.
He's like, look, I'm going to create a device where we can listen to ghosts. And now it's our telephone.
There's so much information here. And I want to get you guys' final thoughts on this, because we're already gone past an hour.
I just want to spout out.
But
I want to mention one thing to bounce off of what Aaron said about the thing, because I wish the Bible just said something about fallen angels giving technology or giving instructions on how to do things, because there's reasons that I don't accept the Book of Enoch as canon, but it was maybe written by people who understood things of the times or whatever, and it talks about fallen angels. Yeah, fallen angels given technology about how to make weapons and how to put on makeup and how to do root cutting, which was hallucinogenics and all this stuff. Even though it's not in the Bible, I tend to believe that is kind of what happened. Like, where did we come up? Who just came up with hallucinogenic or rubbing makeup on and all this stuff?
Even then, you don't really have to. You don't need the Book of Enoch to say, look, the angels can teach man things, how to do things.
We're
because
inspired
clearly angels are messengers, and what is a message other than information? And what is information other than knowledge? And what is knowledge? It's technology, right? That's really what we're dealing with here. So I don't see, the conflict with that. I don't see that need, I'm not saying like you're doing this, but I don't see the need to have to use another source other than the Bible to come up with the fact that clearly angels can teach humans how to do things. And I think the Book of Enoch is literature, if anything. And I think it's really interesting, but I totally see in scripture that angels and are messengers, and they can give messages. And can they teach you how to build pyramids? Sure. Can they teach you how to build a spaceship? Why not? I don't see anything in there that would prevent that, but go ahead, Bradley.
No, I don't want to cut you off, but we are approaching the hour, and I've actually been trying to keep this down to half an hour.
Oh my goodness!
It just doesn't happen. Every
and not with us.
Here, I've had
not with the three of us.
we had 10 minutes of content to go over tonight, and I thought that'd be pretty good. It's about a third of what we had before, and I didn't want to go to an hour and a half because it gets kind of long. And so I think people enjoy shorter videos on YouTube, but there's so much information here. And Aaron, I really do appreciate you being on the show. I'm going to have you on more often because you added just 200% more information that we could bounce off of. And I've enjoyed personally not having to talk as much. but I really am fascinated by everything both of you are given to the program, and it allows me to even look at the comments and see what other people are saying too. Great, so any last thoughts from either of you?
Keep it coming, man. We're living in interesting times, and I think, man, every day, if you don't see we're in the last days according to Bible prophecy, like, man, it's time to start reading or something, because if you just look at the news or whatever, look at the signs, just look at what's happening around us, man. We are there. Like, it's exciting, you know?
Yeah. And yeah, my only thought is, you know, the Bible says that there's nothing new under the sun. And that has been a comfort for me, because I don't have to be, you know, driven to the left or driven to the right. And none of this stuff is scary to me. You know, an alien invasion can happen right now, and I'd just be like, huh, like, yeah, it's about time. There it is. You know, but, you know, it's the scientific community and the atheist community. Like, you know, we're called to love all people, but let's just be honest that we're not showing up into their thing. They're showing up and realizing that these things are actually real. But the Bible has been confirming for a very long time. I always say that, like, I think in the end, there's not going to be any atheists. They're not. There's not going to be any atheists. Everybody will know and understand that there's a great controversy, but the Bible calls us to choose this day who we will serve, and we will be led to pick a side of history to be on. So,
hey, I gotta interrupt just for a second because we've had a donation. This is the first donation chat I've ever seen. It's hey, he says, "Hey Mikey, HIG." I don't know what that means, but
I think he's just saying hi again. That's brother Anthony. What's up, brother? He's always in our Little Light Studios stuff.
Very good. Thank you for the $2 donation there. That's kind of neat. This is a new channel, and so anything that we get would be wonderful, and I appreciate it. That's it, guys. I think that's it for the program tonight, and I really do appreciate you coming out and being a part of this. It's late here on the East Coast, and
we should just do this every night.
We should just pop in every night. I don't know. Will we have enough content for that? It might be too much duplication.
Thursdays are good. Thursdays are good. I can do Thursdays.
Let's see what we can do Thursdays, every Thursday now. And we might not always be on the hour, but everyone, let's make it a plan. If you're watching right now, there are 65 people. There's up to 70 people watching tonight. And if you are, come back every Thursday. Set your alarms. Put the little bell on the subscribe button so you're notified when we go live, because every time we go live, we got some amazing stuff that's always coming out, and we're doing research. I mean, we're hitting the tip of the iceberg with how much stuff that goes out every week, and that because Anthony and Mikey and I, we submit it to our little private Discord, which you can be a part of. Check out our Patreon if you want, and you have to be a paying member so that you can be absolutely authenticated. But it's very interesting, everything we're researching, very, very fascinating, and please continue to watch and pray and be a part of this, because this is a big deal and it's going to happen soon. Have a good night, everyone.
Peace.